Na tuweza kuangalia swala moja muhimu kabisa hapa la miti, kwamba kwanza kabisa niweza kuwakaribisha wageni wangu ambaye niko na John Gashora ambaye ni meneja mkurugenzi wa benki ile NIC Bank ambaye namkaribisha katika studio zetu hapa studioni. Alafu niko na Karin Busma ambaye anatoka kule Kepsa na pia vile vile SIB ambaye atakuwa anatueleza mengi zaidi. Kumbuka kwamba ni kampeni ya kuweza kuhamasisha wananchi kuhusu umuhimu wa kupanda miti, ambapo NIC Bank na kampuni ya Royal Media Services wameweza kuja pamoja ili kuhakikisha kwamba wakenya wanajituma katika zoezi hili ambalo ni muhimu sana kwa kesho na kesho kutwa. Welcome Karin na ndugu yangu John Gashora. This is the second phase of this campaign because this campaign was started last year. Before we talk about changing the story for this year, was last year a success according to you?
Yes, if I may answer that, Rashid, yes, we actually had a great success last year. As you say, the Change the Story campaign was launched last year. And as you know, we had very good rains in 2018. So main focus being planting of trees. I can confidently say that working with partners, we managed to galvanize the country to plant over 6 million trees. So it was a very successful campaign.
It was a success.
Yes.
Trees are vital. Trees are vital, but still we have many cases of deforestation. What do you think is the major cause of that?
Because we don't think we're part of that reason. So we don't see how our responsibility comes in, and we also don't see the negative impact always straight away. You won't notice when there's a piece of the forest missing now, but you will later, and the country will notice. So we need to make sure that we are connected to nature again and that we feel responsible, because whether you're a business having a factory or you're a bank, or by the end of the day, we're all citizens, we're all consumers, and we do use nature, whether it's to take trees away and make a new building, and we all need trees to have oxygen, but also water. So it's
also water, but there are some Kenyans, like last year we planted almost like 6 million tree seedlings.
Yes, Rashid.
But what happens next? Is it about planting? What's the planning when it comes to watering of the trees and so forth?
So I think the aim of the campaign was not just planting, it was about planting and sustaining the tree. So you're right, it's not enough to plant, it has to be followed with the care of the plants. And we worked through that campaign, we worked with a number of partners, Royal Media having been a great partner of ours, working with Green Belt Movement, working with the Junior Achievement to educate the population about how to take care of trees. In fact, the campaign focused a lot on beyond planting the seedling, what else do you need to do? And it's our belief that that work still continues. There are some trees that we know where they were planted, and working with Green Belt Movement, we are tracking their growth, and we can say so far it's proven very successful.
Very successful. So what number are we targeting this year?
This year, well, the campaign total target was 30 million. We did 6 million, as I said. I think this year, although the rains have proven a bit more difficult, we were hoping to close up to that 30 million. I think this campaign will continue until we meet that target. Yes.
Okay. Before we change the story, should we change the attitude of Kenyans? Because there are some people arguing that we might be talking about changing the story, and if you haven't changed the attitude of Kenyans, then we won't achieve much.
Yeah, so therefore I think partnerships are really crucial, like what we do with NIC. I think we have to actually invite way more businesses, but also other organizations with a lot of knowledge, but also the citizens, and engage them in this campaign, because only then you can change the story. As you said, you change mindset. People need to understand, so there needs to be education, but there also needs to be a benefit for people. They need to understand where the benefits are, and also alternatives. If you use trees for fuel, now what is the alternatives? But in that, there's also a lot of opportunities, because that can be a new business and a sustainable one. So yes, there's a really big need to make it bigger, and I think the 30 million can be way more if we all work together, because there are different areas we need to reforester. And also what you say, you have to grow trees, and you have to the right trees in the right area. So you're restoring landscapes, and that comes with all the aspects of that natural landscape. So we don't need fruit trees in an area where we have a different type of trees. It will disturb the right insects, and we will not have the right soil to plant, for instance.
So is this supposed to be done on a daily basis, or should we wait during the rainy season then we start talking about such things?
No, we need to do it always, but the planting comes when the climate is good. So when there's rains, we need to plant. But then the rest of the year, we have work to do to grow and maintain. And we see that also others want to now restore the Mau forest. But you can only do that when there's a social, economic development for the people there. So you need to do a lot of things. We're also lacking indigenous seedlings. So there's also an opportunity for startups to come and grow indigenous trees and seedlings, because we don't have them, and that's also an aspect, and that goes on and on and on. It's a journey.
It's a journey.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about this campaign.
Yes.
How can Kenyans participate apart from the Royal Media Services and IC
Yes.
Bank? How can Kenyans participate?
I think before I answer that, let me comment on something you asked. Is 30 million the number? So 30 million is our target of this campaign, we and our partners. But as a country, I think the president has pledged 10% forest cover by 2022. To get to that number, we estimate we need about 1.8 billion new trees planted. That's a big number. So 30 million is just a minuscule amount of trees compared to what we need to do as a country. So this campaign is not about that we were able to deliver 6 million. It's not the big news. I think the big news is galvanizing people to realize that 1.8 billion trees will not be planted by government alone, that we as individuals in our little ways can contribute towards this. So what can people do then? I think one is let's take care of the trees that already exist. That's the first place. Karen talked about the fact that people are using trees as fuel. Yeah. Now, when people do that, they do not replace those trees, you are adding to that 1.8 billion deficit already. So one is to take care of trees. Two is to remember to be conscious about the use of trees. Because I think people forget. We assume trees will grow on their own. We assume that we use them, they'll grow. We assume that if we clean and grow food, that's more important. The truth of the matter is, without forests, even food farming becomes very difficult. I do not believe that we can meet one of our Agenda 4 goals, which is food security, if we do not have good forestry. So it's important that, therefore, we all do our part. Our campaign was very geared towards saying the government is doing its part, but we as individuals, we as citizens of this country, and by citizen I mean anybody who lives in this country, there's a part that we can do to help in this. Two is that the land today allocated for forestry by the government, even if it was fully planted, we will still not meet our target. It's not enough. So private forests have to play a role. And private forests mean you have your 2 acres, dedicate 10% to forest. And that is what we are trying to drive in this campaign.
There are some Kenyans maybe who will be talking about the excuse of they need to use some of the trees to make a living.
Yes.
Because there's no development where they're coming from.
Absolutely.
How do you educate such people?
Yes, so this campaign is not about not using trees economically. In fact, it's about sustainability. And sustainability, which is anchored on the 3 P's, people, planet, and profit, means that the 3 of them have to work together. So we are not saying that don't use trees to make a profit. But what we are saying is, as you make a profit, remember to replenish, make it sustainable. And that is the point of the campaign.
People are arguing that the most effective way of making this campaign a success is going through schools. Do you agree on that?
I think it's very important, because then you have to make the children understand what is their relationship to the trees. And we complain about drought and about flooding, but we don't know that we are actually able to change a lot of our weather patterns. We are much more capable of changing that than we think. So if you have a lot more trees, you still have dry seasons, but it will not become as vicious as it is now, because the soil can't take any moisture out of even clouds that overflow. So we need a lot of education, and not only like you plant a tree, but again, what is the relationship for me with the plants? What can I not get if I don't take care of trees and I don't consider this part of my environment? So yes, I think it's very, very important to do that.
And I think to add to that, Rashid, one of the partners that started this journey with us was the Junior Achievement Partners. So already they bring a good number of schools, and in fact, how we drove and continue to drive is that schools do compete. Schools are competing on planting of trees, but more importantly, now we are checking the trees they planted last year on their survival rate. That's a different competition. So it's certainly important that we bring schools along this journey.
On board. What are we supposed to plant? What not to plant? Because someone who's watching can just decide to go and plant a tree. Which tree should we plant and which tree should we not plant?
I have been told that by the end of the day, any tree is better than none. But from my perspective of knowledge and restoring landscapes and really have sustainability in this picture, you should plant the trees that belong there. So the indigenous trees you need to restore. If there is just grassland, it should remain grassland, because there's also specific insects living there. There's a specific ecosystem. You have on the Mara, you have wildlife, that type of wildlife, because you do not have a very closed forest. That doesn't go together. So what you need to do is plant what was there before, or what goes well in the same ecosystem. So fruit trees and those kind of things as well, but you need to restore landscapes. That's the main thing.
Okay, there's a question also about the launch. Talk about the launch of this campaign this year. Where will it be done?
Well, we're hoping to launch this around the World Environmental Day, which is coming up. I must say the preparations are not ready. But part of the challenge we have had, Rashid, is that the rains haven't come the way we expected. Because you want to launch a campaign where you know that people go out and plant. When we launched it last year, one of the things we did, we had a huge tree planting day at the Michuki Park. Those trees continue to do very well, I must report. But that made sense. Now, with the rains the way they have been so far in Nairobi, it has become a bit more difficult. So I think we'll be announcing it depending on the weather, because you don't want to have a launch and nobody
So as Kenyans are complaining about the heavy rains, you guys are praying for heavy rains.
We're praying for it. We need the rains.
So what is the role of KDF in this campaign?
Well, KDF, we have worked with them. There's a group called Soldiers for Environment under KDF. Last year, we worked with them to restore the Kibiko forest in Gom. We planted 30,000 trees in Kibiko forest, and they have continued to help us take care of those forests. Furthermore, KDF has been working with Green Belt Movement to restore water towers that are in hard-to-reach areas. You know, the areas that are deep in the forest, the Charangani forest, deep in the forest where you and I may not feel extremely safe together. KDF has been working together with the Green Belt Movement to restore some of these water towers. They have been great partners in this journey. Together with that, I should mention the Kenya Forest Services that we're working with. We're in the process of launching our first seedlings nursery at Karura, where we are planting 500,000 seedlings of indigenous trees, which was one of the problems we ran into last year, was there are not enough seedlings in the country. So that's something that we have taken to work on, and I know a number of other organizations are doing the same thing.
So this is a long-term process?
Yes,
not a short-term one.
This is not short, and what we as an organization within KEPSA, and so that's the Private Sector Alliance and Sustainability, Sustainable and Inclusive Business, we try to bring as much organizations, companies, and actually launch a campaign where citizens can directly contribute to, whether it's with time, whether it's with land, whether it's with trees, or whether it's with money, but that there is a connection between what we are doing as a private sector and knowledge partners, and make that a much bigger and longer term story. Yeah.
Na bila shaka umeweza kusikia kauli kutoka kwa Karin Busma kutoka kwa Kenya Private Sector Alliance na Sustainable Inclusive Business, akaweza kutueleza mengi kuhusiana na mbinu ambazo za kuzitumia kesho na kesho kutwa kuweza kuhifadhi mazingira yetu. Na pia vile vile ndugu yangu ambaye ni meneja mkurugenzi John Gashora kutoka NIC Bank ameweza kueleza kwamba ni kampeni ya mwaka huu ambao ni mwaka wa pili ambapo wameweza kuja pamoja na NIC Bank pamoja na kampuni ya Royal Media Services. Wanasubiri tu mvua iendelee kunyesha sana, alafu wataweza kueleza ni siku gani watakuwa wanazindua rasmi mwaka wa pili wa kampeni hii na itakuwa ni maeneo gani. Na wewe Mkenya, mbali na kupanda mti, unaweza kuchangia vipi japo kwa shilingi moja kuweza kununuliwa miche mingine na kuweza kupandwa sehemu zingine ambazo ni kame zaidi. Thank you so much Karin for coming. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Gashora.
Thank you.
Asante sana kwa kuja, na kufikia hapo mimi nasema asante sana, niweke mahali pema moyoni.